Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, with your analysis for May 26, 2016. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You can see that we had a nice push through the 2077 halves and continued higher toward 2092s. In overnight trading here, prices have pulled back and are currently being defended near the midpoint of the previous session's range, and we're still holding 88s right now. Overall, our expectation was that any rotation below composite or micro composite value here would slingshot price back to 77 to 80 and perhaps push price as high as 21 to 2105s. I mentioned before that given the recent highs here, we may see expansion from this range here that could lead to a push back up, and perhaps if there's a failure to see acceptance beyond 2105s, we could see a rotation back down and keep the trading range intact. So that's the early idea right now. We got our primary idea, which was this. Now we have to see, do prices hold 2077 halves? And if so, we could be looking at a push higher, which right now that appears to be the case. Once price fails to hold above 77 half, that could be a sign that we're headed back down. So right now it appears more strength perhaps ahead. However, we do have the holiday shortened week approaching next week. We also have obviously summertime trading that could come into play, so volumes may begin to shrink a little bit here and there, but overall our key levels will remain intact. 77.5 is one to keep an eye on. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. On an intraday basis here, again, price bounced down off of the midpoint of the previous session's range, 2083s, and rallied to the overnight pivot. We're now holding here, again, near 88s, 89s. Here's what's important right now is that what we're looking at is the recent low here. This was 81s. We also have 77.5, and the early pullback so far has been defended with new highs here. The pullback with a higher low, again, new highs. So pullbacks are being defended right now. Given the recent strength that we've seen, it could be time for some sort of digestion. That's what kind of happened here late yesterday afternoon. We saw digestion happen after the rally. So we could see further digestion. As long as price, again, remains above the 77 halves, we should see an attempt to extend the range beyond 92s and perhaps toward the primary upside target for the day, which right now that would be 2101 quarter. So we have 2095s and 2101 quarter as the next upside targets here should price push through the overnight pivot. Failure to hold above 83s, again, you're going to have a big test at 77 half. And that's a level that the bulls really want to defend here if this thing is going to continue higher toward 2100s. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Higher time frame crude oil here. One thing I saw the previous session right at the crude oil inventories was price rallied just above the previous week's high, rejected, was absorbed right at it from below, and then that led to the early weakness. That kind of led to a tightly coiled triangle pattern. I thought the triangle had a good shot to break to the downside, but either way, anytime you have a pattern that's tightly coiled, you wait for the breakout and then you push in the direction of the expansion. In this case, it actually broke to the upside, and you can see that in overnight trading, prices have pushed above the previous week's high now and have made it support. So 49.56, a big time level right now in the charts. Bulls continue to defend, obviously up to 47, 46s, and now we've gotten new highs. That was the primary idea to begin with the probability of reaching that next LVN above being quite high, given the fact that we've defended this LVN and are not pushing through that minor HVN. The expectation would be to go from rejection to value and then back to rejection, and this could be the next point where we see perhaps a pullback. So right now, this is the key level, 49.56. Above it implies more strength toward 51.65. Failure to hold it could auction prices back down to the LVN for a retest. Looking at the intraday time frame for crude oil, let's pop that up here. You can see 49.80 CHVN holding around that zone. Here's the previous week's high right here. Very important, 49.56. We're holding above that level, so that's a zone to continue to defend if you're a bull. 49.56 for a shot at seeing upside continuation. 50.19 and 50.52 are the upside key targets to play to on a day basis. Any failure to hold above 49.56 rotates price back toward 49.20 and perhaps back toward recent 5-day value, which is 48.67. Here's a look at gold. We know gold was likely to become bearish when we had our rejection day, and then once we saw the weakness here, it was about where is price going to find some support. And I mentioned before that anywhere we were likely to head to this CV pocket 12.36.5, but anywhere near the 28 and 29s was where prices below that zone could become a value for a shot at rotating back toward the top of the range. That's what's happened here recently. Anytime price got into this zone recently, this was the area to defend as prices have pushed higher. And so we're seeing that right now. But the first attempt back above the 28s, 29s, 30s has been rejected already in pre-market trading. So that's something to keep an eye on right there. We may not be done pushing lower here. So overall, this is not really an actionable zone just yet, but we're in the zone here where we may begin to see some strength. If there's not any strength, it would be a departure from what we've seen over the past few months, and that could put some pressure on 1200 and 1193s here at the bottom of the range to hold. So this is going to be important. Again, 28, 29, 30, that's an important zone. Any prices below it typically have been bought for rotations higher. That's the expectation, but if you cannot see any acceptance back above 1230, there could be a little more downside price discovery ahead. Looking at the NQ now. Here's the NQ. We were looking for expansion from this range. Tightly coiled May range for the most part. We knew 4400 was an important level. We got the expansion through that zone, and now you're seeing price hold near the highs of the range after the expansion. You can see down here 4300s was the zone we were talking about defending as well. The slingshot move in the opposite direction has played out nicely. Typically speaking, anytime you push through the top of a range, pullbacks to that range could be a great buying opportunity. We still haven't seen any pullbacks just yet, but still there's an LVN here as well that could play a nice role in defending for a continuation. So that LVN is going to be one to watch. And right now, it appears that 44.42 to 43 is the zone. In terms of continuation to the upside, 45.23 is going to be very important. That's the 50% expansion of a key range. The last time price approached that area, it attempted to hold above it and failed. This is the rejection day where we mentioned it could be the top and we could rotate back down. So we're approaching that point now. It's going to be important again. Holiday shortened week coming up next week with holiday type of trading entering the summer. So we could see quiet volumes here, but overall this thing is drifting higher. Above 4400 implies a little bit more upside price discovery. Looking at the intraday time frame, after the recent rally to the upside, very vertical rally. You see right here 44.62 up to about 89.5, 90. Nice little trading range right there. That trading range could continue to develop throughout the session, so it could be, buy into weakness down here and look to fade early strength near the top of the range after rejection. But eventually, I'm thinking that 44.90 beyond that zone opens up a move perhaps into 45.14, which is going to be the primary target for the day, with a shot at seeing 45.31. It just depends if we see expansion. Otherwise, we could see further back and forth in this range before expansion occurs. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.